Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated in Bleach World. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. The series What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Transmigrated to medieval Pokemon world? What if creating the strongest Strawhat crew by reading manga? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 331, The Cracks Begin to Repair Themselves. Uehara Shiroa walked up to the yellow-haired man, or better known as Ryuta, and said, "I didn't expect you to be so lucky. You did a great job." Ryuta complained while panting heavily. "What else could I do? Was I supposed to run back and ask you to kill me with your sword?" Uehara Shiroa smiled helplessly, then addressed everyone. "Now that we know this thing has a limited range of movement, it'll be easier to deal with. I'll be responsible for getting its attention, and you guys spread out and use your long-range attacks to take it down." Everyone around him nodded firmly. Uehara Shiroha then assigned everyone their positions, taking the spot where Ryuta had just been standing. After everyone was in place, he raised his Zanpakuto and slashed forward. A blade of energy struck the black spirit's back, immediately catching its attention. It was obvious that Uehara Shiroa's attack power was much stronger than the previous one. This time, the black spirit let out an agonized scream and became noticeably more violent than before. As soon as a high-level hollow emerged from the crack, the black spirit grabbed it and devoured it whole. This scene made Uehara Shiroa feel a chill run down his spine. If they hadn't figured out this thing's movement range beforehand, the few of them probably wouldn't have been able to defeat it. This time, the black spirit moved much faster than before. It dragged its massive body and charged toward Uehara Shiroa. At his command, the other companions kept attacking the black spirit with their long-range abilities. Before the black spirit could reach the edge of its activity range, it collapsed directly to the ground. Dust suddenly billowed up around them, completely obscuring everyone's vision. Uehara Shiroa shouted loudly to his companions, "Don't stop. Don't give this thing a chance to recover." After saying that, he began swinging his Zanpakuto as well, sending wave after wave of sword energy toward the dust cloud ahead. By the time the surrounding dust gradually settled, the black spirit lying on the ground had already stopped moving. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The mission was finally complete. Uehara Shiroa stood aside and observed for a long time. Without the black spirit's interference, the cracks were slowly repairing themselves. Although high-level hollows would continue to emerge from the inner areas during this period, the cracks should be able to repair themselves automatically within one night. At this point, Uehara Shiroa only needed to wait until the cracks were fully repaired and then claim his mission reward. The Hogyoku in this area could finally be upgraded. Uehara Shiroa silently turned around and prepared to leave, but Chiyokura followed behind him. "Where are you going next? Can you take me with you?" Uehara Shiroa glanced at Chiyokura's attribute panel. With her current strength, she could only survive in the outer areas at most, maybe killing a few low-level hollows. She couldn't help him at all by staying at his side. When danger struck, he'd probably need to save her instead. She'd be nothing but a burden. So Uehara Shiroa opened his mouth to answer, "Forget it. Your stats aren't high enough. You should stay in the outer areas and continue training." After hearing his response, Chiyokura lowered her head in disappointment and didn't say anything more. This scene made Uehara Shiroa feel a little guilty. Chapter 332, Agreeing to Bring Chiyokura. Uehara Shiroa looked at Chiyokura and said earnestly, "You should find a safe place to hide during this period. Don't stay in Hueco Mundo. Right now the outer areas are full of high-level hollows, and they've devoured a lot of low-level ones. Their own strength has increased considerably, and some have even completed their evolution. You should wait until these guys are dealt with before returning to Hueco Mundo. Hearing what Uehara Shiroa said, Chiakura asked him again, then do you know where there's a safe place? Can I go with you? Uehara Shiroa smiled helplessly. It seemed like this girl was determined to come with him. Thinking carefully about what had just happened, Chiakura had been relatively obedient in the team. And when no one else was willing to take the test, she was the only one who stepped forward voluntarily, which at least showed there was nothing wrong with her character. When Phaeus was alive, he had told Uehara Shiroa that although Chiakura wasn't very capable, she was good at observation. This person might have some understanding of the various spirits in Hueco Mundo. With such a walking encyclopedia at hand, Uehara Shiroa's next adventure should go more smoothly. Thinking of this, Uehara Shiroa had no choice but to agree to Chiakura's request. Alright, if you have nowhere else to go, then just follow me. But I have to be upfront with you. I'm going to upgrade my equipment. The place I'm heading to might be dangerous for you. Combined with what Uehara Shiroa had said before, this matter was likely being orchestrated by humans, and this so-called black spirit was probably being controlled by them too. If you don't dare to go, you can back out at any time. I won't force you. Chiakura turned her head to look at Ryuta next to them, then said jokingly to Uehara Shiroa, weren't you pretty domineering when you forced him to do the test just now? Uehara Shiroa replied with a look of disdain, he asked for it. He was too afraid to die. If it weren't for him, Phaeus wouldn't have died. While the two were chatting, Raymond walked up and asked Uehara Shiroa, now that the mission's complete, let's all go our separate ways. The future is still long, I hope to see you again someday. Uehara Shiroa spoke up to remind him, you can leave if you want, but I suggest you don't leave right now. It'll take at least one night for the crack to repair itself. I don't know what might happen during that time. If another high-level hollow like the Black Spirit shows up, I won't be able to handle it alone. After listening to this, Raymond thought about it carefully. Although the Black Spirit had been dealt with, his mission wasn't actually complete yet. The cracks hadn't been repaired, and high-level hollows were still constantly emerging from the inner areas. Therefore, if he left now, what Uehara Shiroa said might very well happen. After some hesitation, Raymond agreed with Uehara Shiroa's opinion. Then we'll do as you say. We don't need one more night anyway. We can leave after the cracks are repaired. At this time, Uehara Shiroa quietly checked Ryuta's attribute panel and immediately noticed something was wrong. He had looked at everyone's attribute panels and had a general impression in his mind. Chapter 333, Abnormalities in Ryuta's Attributes. Among this group of people, Ryuta's attributes were definitely not high average at best. But now, among this group, Ryuta was doing just as well as anyone else except for still being inferior to Uehara Shiroa in terms of base attributes. According to normal logic, even if the crack repair mission would give substantial attribute rewards, the cracks hadn't been repaired yet, so no one should be able to get their rewards. But Ryuta's attributes had changed at this time, which showed that his mission was different from everyone else's. Sure enough, Ryuta's next action deepened Uehara Shiroa's suspicion. The cracks weren't repaired yet, and everyone else wanted to wait until the mission was completed before leaving. Only Ryuta wanted to leave first. Ryuta said to everyone with a smile on his face, thanks for all your hard work. I have other things to do, so I won't be staying here with you any longer. After saying that, he turned around and was about to leave, but Uehara Shiroa grabbed him. Ryuta instinctively wanted to shake off the hand that was holding him, but when he turned around and saw that it was Uehara Shiroa standing behind him, he gave up the idea. He knew in his heart that even though he had received his mission reward and gained enhanced attributes, he was still no match for Uehara Shiroa. Ryuta asked Uehara Shiroa with an impatient expression, what are you doing? The Black Spirit's been dealt with now, hasn't it? You can just wait here for the cracks to be repaired. Why are you dragging me into this? Uehara Shiroa questioned him directly, the mission you received is different from ours. Our mission is to repair the cracks, while your mission seems to be just killing the black spirit. Am I right? Hearing Uehara Shirowa's question, Ryuta frowned, his expression seeming a little unnatural as he retorted, "What are you talking about? Our mission is the same. What right do you have to question me?" Uehara Shirowa sneered, "I checked your attribute panel from the beginning. The cracks haven't been repaired yet. Logically, you shouldn't have gotten your mission reward, but your attributes have improved." Ryuta looked at the others and then pulled Raymond over to testify for him. "If you don't believe me, just ask him. We were teammates from the beginning, and our missions were the same." Raymond didn't dare guarantee anything at this point, so he answered, "We did agree to kill the black spirit together, but I don't actually know what Ryuta's specific mission is." Ryuta was dumbfounded. No one would testify for him, and he was afraid he'd have no way to defend himself. While Ryuta wasn't paying attention, Uehara Shirowa kicked him behind the knee. Ryuta dropped to one knee in front of him, and then Uehara Shirowa placed his Zanpakuto against the other's neck and asked, "Tell me, what exactly is your mission?" Ryuta's body began trembling involuntarily. He knew that Uehara Shirowa wasn't trying to scare him. If he didn't tell the truth, he would be killed by that blade. After hesitating for a long time, Ryuta answered, "Okay, I lied to you. My mission really is just to kill the black spirit, but what does it matter? Aren't we all aiming for the same goal? I don't understand what you're making such a big deal about." Chapter 334, Black Spirit is the mission target. Uehara Shirowa smiled and shook his head. "This is completely different. Since your mission is to kill the black spirit, there should be some hints in your mission briefing. You're the one who knows the black spirit best among all of us, but you didn't speak up. You probably knew this thing's range of movement earlier than I did." After hearing what Uehara Shirowa said, the people around them were all stunned. Some of them walked up to Ryuta and demanded answers. "Since you knew from the beginning, why didn't you tell us? Otherwise, Phaeus might not have died. We spoke well of you before, but we didn't expect you to be this kind of person. Do you want to get all of us killed?" Faced with accusations from the group, Ryuta had no choice but to speak his true feelings. "What could I do? If I said I knew everything, you would have definitely made me rush to the front. That thing is so difficult to deal with. If I charged ahead, what difference would there be between me and Phaeus?" Uehara Shirowa stared at Ryuta in front of him, kicked him in the chest, and raised his Zanpakuto to strike him down. Just when the blade was about to hit Ryuta's body, Raymond stepped in to stop Uehara Shirowa. "Forget it. Since everything's over and the mission's been completed, let him go. Killing him now won't change anything. People like him will get their comeuppance sooner or later." Uehara Shirowa replied with a look of disdain, "If we let this kind of person go, won't he just harm more people? I am his retribution right now. And this guy still hasn't told us the whole truth. His mission is different from everyone else's, he must know more than he's letting on." Hearing this, Raymond also became conflicted. He immediately squatted down and spoke to Ryuta earnestly. "If you really know something, tell us right now. Otherwise, if Uehara Shirowa really wants to kill you, I won't be able to stop him." Ryuta looked at the group of people surrounding him. Uehara Shirowa had a Hogyoku in his possession. If he really wanted to kill him, even if everyone here banded together, they probably wouldn't be able to stop him. After some hesitation, Ryuta spoke. "Actually, the mission I received was from our organization. Our organization has long known that the cracks were caused by the black spirit." Uehara Shirowa frowned, looked at Ryuta, and asked, "What organization are you from? How did you know the black spirit appeared here? And why didn't your organization want you to stay here?" Ryuta quickly shook his head and began explaining. "If the black spirit was really placed here by us, why would they ask me to come kill it? The organization that released this black spirit is called Dawn. The people in this organization have the ability to control hollows. This black spirit is also one of their trained hollows. The purpose of opening the rift is to allow these high-level hollows to escape to the outer areas and devour more low-level hollows, completing their evolution. This way they can recruit these evolved hollows into their ranks and enhance their organization's combat effectiveness." After listening to the explanation, Uehara Shiroa felt that it didn't seem like a fabrication. It appeared that what Ryuta said was true. Uehara Shiroa turned around and looked at the crack behind him that was slowly repairing itself. He had a bad feeling in his heart. It seemed like this matter wouldn't end so easily. Chapter 335, The Real Reason for the Crack. Uehara Shiroa said to Raymond beside him, "We killed the Black Spirit, and the Dawn organization will know about it soon. They definitely won't wait until the cracks repair themselves automatically. If what he said is true, then we're in for a lot of fun tonight. Whether Ryuta is telling the truth or not, it looks like we'll have our answer tonight." Raymond nodded slowly, then said to everyone, "Everyone, be prepared. The Dawn organization members may show up at any time. They may have higher-level hollows with them. It won't be easy to deal with them." Everyone nodded after hearing this, except for Ryuta lying on the ground, who asked tentatively, "Since I've told you the truth, can you let me go? I won't be any use to you. There's no point in keeping me here." Uehara Shiroa slowly lowered himself and spoke to Ryuta. "Who said you're useless? Didn't you just say that your organization opposes the Dawn organization? Then you must have enough understanding of them. If we really want to deal with this organization, you can still be of great help." An expression of horror appeared on Ryuta's face and he immediately waved his hands. "The people from the Dawn organization aren't normal people. If they really come, I'm afraid we'll all die here. A hollow of the Black Spirit's level is just a tool to them, not even their strongest asset. If they really send someone, I advise you all to leave quickly. Staying here is just suicide." Uehara Shiroa didn't want to get entangled with these people here, but if he wanted to upgrade the level of the Hogyoku, he should at least complete this special task first. Moreover, if all the low-level hollows in the outer areas were devoured, it might not be so easy to upgrade the Hogyoku's level in the future. After some hesitation, Uehara Shiroa decided to let everyone make their own choice, so he said to everyone, "How about this? Everyone can choose whether to go or stay. I also think that this Dawn organization won't be easy to deal with. This mission may not be that important to you. If you want to get out of this, you can leave now." The people around looked at each other and expressed their opinions. "It's better to stay. The Black Spirit has been killed. It would be a pity to give up now. Yes, the mission's about to be completed. If I leave now, I'll regret it." Everyone was willing to stay, except Ryuta, who made a different suggestion. "Since so many of you are staying, your fighting power should be enough. I shouldn't be much help, so can I leave?" Uehara Shiroa smiled. "Anyone can leave, except you, because you're the only one who understands the people in the Dawn organization. Besides, your two organizations are opposed to each other. If the Dawn organization really captures you, I'm sure your organization will send someone to rescue you." Ryuta shook his head vigorously. "Who said that? I'm just a tool in our organization. Even if I die in their hands, it won't have any impact on our organization. How could they send someone to save me? You're overthinking this." Chapter 336, The Cracks Have Not Been Repaired. Uehara Shiroa no longer believed what Ryuta said, so he replied with a look of disdain, "I'll definitely give it a try first." "Do you think I'll believe what you say?" Ryuta looked at everyone with a look of despair. He knew in his heart that he couldn't leave even if he wanted to, so he had to stay. Later, under Uehara Shiroa's arrangement, everyone found shelter, hid themselves, and quietly observed the cracks. As the outer areas fell into darkness, the cracks were almost completely repaired. Just when everyone thought that the Dawn organization wouldn't appear, a burst of thick smoke blocked everyone's view. Uehara Shiroa immediately realized something was wrong. As soon as he stood up, he smelled a strange fragrance. The scent made people feel relaxed from head to toe. Uehara Shiroa shook his head violently, trying to keep himself awake as much as possible, but he couldn't control himself and collapsed. When Uehara Shiroa opened his eyes again, his hands and feet had been shackled. He raised his head and glanced to the side, seeing that his other companions were in the same situation as himself. Everyone was now locked in a cell. Uehara Shiroa looked across from their cell and saw all kinds of low-level hollows on the opposite side. After seeing them, these hollows acted as if they had spotted food. They stretched out their tongues and revealed greedy expressions. Uehara Shiroa carefully recalled what had happened before he fainted. If nothing unexpected had occurred, they should have been captured by the Dawn organization. Checking his task panel, the mission to repair the cracks had not yet been completed. Before Uehara Shiroa fainted, the repair of the crack had reached the most critical stage. Logically, the task should have been completed long ago. It seemed that the people from the Dawn organization had acted in time and the crack had been widened once again. Slowly, the other companions also woke up. Ryuta saw this and called out to Uehara Shiroa, "I told you not to go against the Dawn organization. Now we're all locked in here. We can't escape." Uehara Shiroa said to Ryuta with a helpless look on his face, "Keep shouting. Someone will come looking for you soon. You're yelling so excitedly, I'm sure you'll be the first one to be fed to the low-level hollows." Ryuta said with disdain, "I can easily deal with these low-level hollows in a few moves." "You think they can eat me?" Uehara Shiroa sneered, "Really? But I can see that you're clearly at the mercy of others. Are you sure you can defeat these low-level hollows in your current state?" Uehara Shiroa's words made Ryuta extremely frustrated. He started shouting loudly again, which really attracted the attention of the people from the Dawn organization. Then a man wearing a mask came to the cell door. The mask this person wore was very special and looked very similar to hollow masks. The man patted the door of the cell and spoke. "Why are you yelling? I'll feed you all to these idiots later. Let's see if you can still be so arrogant." After hearing what the masked man said, Ryuta immediately shut his mouth and didn't dare to continue. Uehara Shiroa slowly closed his eyes. He knew that this matter was far from simple. Chapter 337. Imprisoned with low-level hollows. If these people had captured them just to feed them to the hollows, they would already be in their stomachs by now. Since they've been kept alive until now, it means they must still be useful, so Uehara Shiroa was waiting for someone to appear. Sure enough, not long after, another person who seemed to be in a slightly higher position came over. The mask he wore was somewhat similar to the Black Spirit's mask. Arriving at the door of the cell, the masked man asked, "You dare to interfere with our Dawn organization's work? You must be sent by the Sirius organization." Although it was the first time Uehara Shiroa had heard this name, it wasn't difficult to guess from what Ryuta had said earlier that the Sirius organization should be opposed to the Dawn organization. Thinking of this, Ryuta must be a member of the Sirius organization, so Uehara Shiroa spoke. "I'm afraid you'll be disappointed. We're not like that. We were just trying to complete a mission. See that blonde guy over there? He's from the Sirius organization. Ask him if you have any questions." Upon hearing this, Ryuta immediately frowned and turned around to glare at Uehara Shiroa fiercely. "You betrayed your teammates." Uehara Shiroa, on the other hand, had a calm expression on his face, without any psychological burden. Even if Ryuta died 100 times for the things he'd done, Uehara Shiroa wouldn't be moved. Of course, the masked man wouldn't believe just words, so he immediately called his men nearby and had them grab Ryuta. The masked man turned his gaze to Ryuta and asked, "Are you sent by the Sirius organization?" Ryuta quickly shook his head. He definitely couldn't admit it at this point. "What is the Sirius organization? I've never heard of it. I'm here to complete a mission just like them." Then the masked man rolled up Ryuta's sleeves and found a wolf tattoo on his arm. "This is the mark of the Sirius organization. You still dare to say you're not from the Sirius organization? Throw this guy over there and feed him to them." Ryuta was so scared that he screamed loudly. At this time, Raymond whispered to Uehara Shiroa, "Let's save him. He's the only one among us who knows about the Dawn organization. If he dies, we won't be able to escape." Uehara Shiroa frowned and thought carefully. Although Ryuta was hateful, if he was allowed to die like this, it would be very difficult for them to escape from this place. Seeing Ryuta being dragged out by these people, Uehara Shiroha called out to them, "Wait, if you kill him like this, don't you plan to exchange him for something more useful?" The man who had just put on the mask slowly turned his head and looked at Uehara Shiroha, then asked, "The people of this serious organization are all trash. What could they possibly exchange for?" Uehara Shiroha replied calmly, "You let these high-level hollows destroy the barriers between the inner and outer areas, just to let these high-level hollows run out and devour the low-level hollows. But do you think the people from the serious organization will watch you accomplish your goal so easily? Although this guy is worthless, he's at least a member of the serious organization and knows something about their plans. Why not keep him here and ask him more questions?" The masked man thought about it carefully and felt that what Uehara Shiroha said made sense. Chapter 338, The Mysterious Dawn Organization. After thinking for a long time, the masked man waved his hand to signal them to let Ryuta go. Ryuta was so scared he almost wet his pants and collapsed to the ground. The masked man slowly squatted down and asked Ryuta, "Then tell me, what plans does the serious organization have next?" Ryuta's eyes darted around, his brain was completely blank at this moment, and he was so frightened that he couldn't speak, fearing that if he said something wrong, he would be immediately dragged away by this group and fed to the low-level hollows. Seeing that Ryuta was slow to speak, the masked man said, "Since he's a useless person who knows nothing, I'd better just give him to the others." Uehara Shiroha immediately spoke up, "Don't rush. He's so scared right now that even if you ask him anything, he won't be able to answer. Why not give us some time, and let us try to persuade him and let him think it through carefully?" The masked man considered it for a long time, then nodded and asked his men to lock Ryuta back into the cell before leaving with the others. At this time, Ryuta was still in shock, breathing heavily, and looked at Uehara Shiroha fiercely. "What exactly are you planning? You just want these people to kill me, right?" Uehara Shiroha shook his head helplessly. "I don't quite understand what you mean. I just saved you, and now you're being a little ungrateful. I should have listened to Raymond and just let them drag you away and feed you to the hollows. Let's see if you could still question me then." Ryuta obviously didn't appreciate it and said to Uehara Shiroha, "If you hadn't told them that I was from the serious organization, how could they have arrested me?" The reason why Ryuta dared to speak so arrogantly to Uehara Shiroha was because he knew that Uehara Shiroha was also locked up and posed no threat to him now. Even if Uehara Shiroha had the Hogyoku in his possession, these chains could lock even the highest level of hollow, let alone them. Uehara Shiroha said indifferently, "You didn't tell me before that you were from the serious organization. I just said it casually, but somehow I knew you really were." Ryuta was speechless after being rebuked by Uehara Shiroha. He didn't know how to respond for a moment. Raymond started to mediate. "Everyone, please stop arguing. The most important thing right now is to find a way to get out of this damn place. Although we've temporarily delayed them, there's no guarantee they won't come back later. Sooner or later, we'll be fed to these hollows." Uehara Shiroha answered, "It's easy. Just let Ryuta tell us everything he knows." Ryuta turned his face away angrily. "It's impossible for me to betray the organization. You can only dream about it." Uehara Shiroha looked indifferent. "If you don't say anything, they'll naturally deal with you first. We don't care, we're not members of the serious organization. Even if we have to die, we'll definitely die after you." Ryuta gritted his teeth and said to Uehara Shiroha, "Even if I tell them, I'll definitely make a request to them, asking them to kill you first before I tell them anything." Uehara Shiroha slowly turned his head and said to Ryuta, "Whatever." Chapter 339, Ryuta Struggles. Ryuta gritted his teeth in anger and stopped arguing. These people didn't come back for a long time after they left. Raymond asked Uehara Shiroha curiously, "What on earth do these people want to do? Even if they want to feed these hollows, just devouring us isn't enough." Uehara Shiroha replied calmly, "It's nothing more than wanting to take it out on us because we ruined their plans. Feeding us to these hollows is just convenient for them. It's not hard to get out of here. We just need to make them let us down from these chains." Ryuta said sarcastically from the side, "Easy to say, but they're not stupid. They know you'll resist if they let you down, so why would they do that?" Raymond said to Ryuta with a look of disgust, "You'd better say less. If you could tell these people everything you know, we wouldn't be in this situation now." Ryuta snorted coldly, "Why should I use the secrets I know to save you? That's really funny." Uehara Shiroa said indifferently, "We're all in the same boat. It's up to you whether you want to speak up or not. If you don't speak up, you and we will end up the same way." Ryuta looked at Uehara Shiroa with resentment. Although he had many complaints about Uehara Shiroa in his heart, he also knew that what Uehara Shiroa said was true. Now it seemed like these people hadn't done anything to them, but when they came again next time, who knew what would happen? If he continued to keep silent at this moment, the result would be predictable. Sure enough, after waiting for what felt like an eternity, this group of masked people came back again, and their target was very clear: only Ryuta. Ryuta's chains were opened by these people and he was let down. However, with his current strength, he didn't dare to resist at all. If he resisted at this time, he would be thrown into the cages with the low-level hollows. With Ryuta's current strength, a few low-level hollows couldn't do much to him, but this place had at least hundreds of low-level hollows, so no matter how strong he was, he had no chance to fight back. After several people took Ryuta out of the cell, they put a knife directly to his neck. Ryuta knelt on the ground with his back to the group. He felt very insecure and asked in a trembling voice, "Can't we just talk this out? What are you doing?" Seeing this scene, Uehara Shiroa smiled helplessly. Ryuta knew what the other party wanted, but he kept silent. The masked man holding the knife spoke, "Tell us what you know about your organization, or you should know what the consequences will be." Ryuta turned his head and looked at Uehara Shiroa, his eyes full of desperation, as if he was waiting for Uehara Shiroa to rescue him. However, Uehara Shiroa couldn't even guarantee his own safety now, so how could he save anyone else? Now everyone's life depended on Ryuta's decision. It all came down to whether he was willing to speak. Seeing that Ryuta was slow to respond, the masked man slowly raised his knife. Just as the steel blade was about to fall, Ryuta closed his eyes and shouted, "I'll talk." Hearing this, the masked men suddenly stopped what they were doing. It seemed that they really wanted to get information from Ryuta. Chapter 340, Tell the Secret to Save Your Life. The steel knife was suspended in the air at this time, almost touching Ryuta's neck. Ryuta swallowed nervously, then spoke slowly. "I can tell you what I know, but you have to ask. If you don't ask, how can I know what you want to know?" A few people gathered together and whispered for a while, then one of them stood up and asked Ryuta, "How many people were sent by your organization to sabotage our plan this time? Where are the others now, besides you?" Ryuta answered, "I accepted the mission from the organization myself. How would I know if there are other people who have accepted the same mission as me? At least when I came to carry out the mission, I didn't see any of my companions in the outer areas." The masked man obviously didn't believe what Ryuta said, and he didn't intend to take back the knife in his hand. Just as he was about to swing his knife at Ryuta again, Uehara Shiroa spoke. "I think he's telling the truth." The other masked men looked up at Uehara Shiroa, and then he continued, "Just look at this group of people and you'll know that no one is willing to speak for him. Although this guy is annoying, if they were in the same organization, he wouldn't have fallen to such a state." The masked man slowly walked to Uehara Shiroa's side. Through the mask, Uehara Shiroa could clearly see the other person's fierce eyes. The masked man questioned him, "But haven't you been speaking for him all along? Can I suspect that you are also a member of this serious organization?" Uehara Shiroa sneered, "What kind of organization are you talking about? I've never heard of it. This guy's life or death has nothing to do with me. So, if you really want to do it, just kill him." The masked man had been staring at Uehara Shiroa, as if he was observing the changes in his expression. Seeing that Uehara Shiroa was indeed unmoved, he reluctantly believed what he said, then turned to Ryuta and asked, "Since you don't know anything, what's the point of keeping you here? We'd better just kill you." After saying that, he swung the steel knife in his hand and chopped toward Ryuta's neck. Ryuta immediately shouted loudly, "I know where they keep the Soul Slayer." The steel knife stopped right behind Ryuta's neck again. The masked man slowly lowered himself and asked with narrowed eyes, the Soul Slayer is the treasure of the serious organization. Since you claim to know nothing, you must be just an ordinary member. How could you possibly know the location of the Soul Slayer? At this time, Uehara Shiroa was also thinking the Soul Slayer must be a high-level Zanpakuto. It could cause great damage to the general high-level hollows in the inner areas. This thing wouldn't be so easy to obtain. Ryuta answered slowly, I also accidentally heard them mention it during their conversation. I know its exact location. If you need it, I can get it back for you. Obviously, this condition was quite tempting to them. Several masked men gathered together to discuss it and then agreed to Ryuta's request. Then we will give you 7 days. Within these 7 days, if you bring back the Soul Slayer, you can live. Chapter 341, Everyone was saved by Ryuta. Ryuta raised his head and looked at the people in the cell, then spoke, Can you let these people go with me? Ryuta's behavior shocked the other companions. After all, they had targeted him many times along the way. Now that he had gotten the chance to escape, he unexpectedly wanted to bring them along with him. This made the group look at him with newfound respect. Even Raymond secretly sighed in his heart that he didn't expect Ryuta, although harsh with his words, actually had some compassion. The masked man thought about it carefully. I don't think you can complete this mission by yourself. The Soul Slayer must be guarded by someone, so you should go with them. As they spoke, several masked men walked toward Uehara Shiroa and the others one by one, took out a black pill from their robes, and fed it directly to each of them. Then the masked man spoke, Don't think I'm stupid. You won't want to come back after you leave. But if you take this pill and don't come back to get the antidote within 7 days, have you seen the low-level hollows in those rooms? You will become like them. Ryuta cleared his throat hard, trying to spit out the pill he had just taken, but he had already swallowed it. Afterwards, the chains binding Uehara Shiroa and the others were also opened, but at this time Uehara Shiroa no longer dared to act rashly. If they hadn't taken the pill just now, Uehara Shiroa and the others should have been able to fight their way out together. This group shouldn't have been able to do anything to them. But at this moment, his life was in the hands of the other party. If he acted rashly, he might not be able to get the antidote. Uehara Shiroa turned around and looked at the low-level hollows imprisoned in other cells. Perhaps they were also people captured by the Dawn organization, and they had all been turned into such a ghostly appearance by them. For those who nurture hollows like the Dawn organization, the combat effectiveness of these low-level hollows wasn't strong and there was no value in cultivating them, so the final fate of these low-level hollows was to be devoured by those high-level ones. After the masked men left, Raymond stepped forward and helped Ryuta up, and couldn't help but sigh, I didn't expect that at this critical moment, you would still remember to rescue us. Even though they forced us to take the pills, it's better than being locked up here and waiting to die. Uehara Shiroa sneered and said to Raymond, You think too highly of him. The reason this guy rescued us together is simply because he needs our help. He may really know the location of the Soul Slayer, but with his strength, do you think he can bring it out by himself? If he can't bring the Soul Slayer back within 7 days, he'll die anyway. Ryuta said to Uehara Shiroa with a look of disdain, Don't think that everyone is the same as you and that everyone is so calculating. Uehara Shiroa shrugged, turned around, and pulled Chiyokura along as he prepared to leave. Since you don't need our help, we'll leave first. Ryuta called out to Uehara Shiroa from behind, If you leave now, neither of you will survive. I don't believe you can get the antidote from the Dawn organization. After 7 days, you'll become like these low-level hollows, trapped in Hueco Mundo forever, waiting to be devoured by high-level hollows at any time. Chapter 342, Top-Level Zanpakuto, Soul Slayer. Uehara Shiroa looked indifferent. Since you can bring the Soul Slayer back by yourself, why do you care what we do? You just need to do your own thing. Do I need to tell you where we're going? Among this group of people, Uehara Shiroa was the strongest and the only one who possessed the abilities of the Hogyoku and Infinite Tsukuyomi. Ryuta was dumbfounded. If it weren't for Uehara Shiroa's help, he wouldn't be able to bring the Soul Slayer back at all. Although Uehara Shiroa's level of Hogyoku was very low, it was still better than those who didn't have it. If Uehara Shiroa just walked away, they wouldn't be able to complete the mission with just a few people, and they would become low-level hollows in 7 days. This was something Ryuta could not accept at all. He might as well have been killed with the knife. Looking at Uehara Shiroa's gradually disappearing back, Ryuta quickly caught up with him and spoke to him sincerely. My attitude just now may not have been very good. I apologize to you. We really need your help this time. Uehara Shiroa glanced at Ryuta, and at this time, Shiokura next to him also spoke. Why don't we just follow him? Although this guy is annoying, the other people are innocent. We can't just abandon everyone because of him alone. Besides, we both took the medicine. Uehara Shiroha nodded slowly, then said to Ryuta, I'm just giving face to Chiakura, so please don't take yourself too seriously. Ryuta nodded repeatedly and didn't dare to refute Uehara Shiroha any further. Then several people left the Dawn Organization's base. Uehara Shiroha looked at his special mission and realized that it wasn't so easy to repair the crack. He had to solve this problem first and then deal with the Dawn Organization. What Uehara Shiroha didn't know was how many high-level hollows would escape to the outer areas during the time he was away, which would cause Hueco Mundo to become extremely chaotic. These high-level hollows could continuously complete their own evolution by constantly devouring low-level ones. By the time they came back, the outer areas might look completely different. No one knew the way, so Ryuta was leading everyone in front. A day passed, and the surroundings were still desolate, with no sign of any organization at all. Uehara Shiroa asked curiously, I'm asking you, are you actually a member of the Sirius organization? Right now you can't even find your way back. Ryuta said with an impatient look on his face, I am one, aren't you? If it weren't for my identity, you'd still be locked there, and you might have been swallowed by those hollows. Just follow me obediently, but we probably won't get there today. Let's find a place to rest. Ryuta then found a place to sit down, and after everyone sat down, Shiokura whispered beside Uehara Shiroa, I've also heard of the Sirius organization. Their base seems to be on the surface. The outer areas are very large, and it still takes a certain distance to get from the outer areas to the surface, but we should be there soon tomorrow. Uehara Shiroha nodded slowly, thinking secretly that letting Chiakura follow him was the right choice. She was a walking encyclopedia. Chapter 343, Advanced Hollow Quickly. Chiakura knows everything about Hueco Mundo. Although she isn't very strong, she can be a very good guide to Uehara Shiroha. If Ryuta has any unfavorable thoughts toward Uehara Shiroha in the future, Chiakura will be able to detect it at the first moment and warn him in time. After everyone sat down, Raymond asked Ryuta seriously, our mission this time is quite difficult. The Zanpakuto is considered a very advanced weapon. Your organization should be guarding it very strictly. Why don't you tell us about the situation in advance so we can take action when the time comes? Ryuta answered, the one guarding the Soul Slayer is Quickly. This isn't a person's name, but a high-level hollow. This guy is very powerful. Even if we join forces, we may not be able to kill him. Uehara Shiroa asked Ryuta with a smile, I didn't expect your organization is the same as the Dawn organization. You actually raised this kind of thing. Ryuta gave Uehara Shiroa a cold look. Our two organizations have been secretly fighting each other for a long time. If we want to fight fire with fire, we must use the same methods. These people from the Dawn organization have never mastered the essence of nurturing hollows. Constantly devouring these low-level hollows can indeed allow high-level hollows to complete their evolution, but there is a limit. Quickly devoured some high-level hollows in the inner areas. The Soul Slayer is considered the most precious treasure of our organization, so we let Quickly guard it. After listening to this, Uehara Shiroa gradually frowned. At least from what Ryuta said, this mission wouldn't be easy. If the person guarding the Soul Slayer was also a human, then Uehara Shiroa wouldn't take him seriously at all. The Sirius organization certainly had no shortage of powerful people, but it was impossible to send all of these powerful people to guard the same thing. Uehara Shiroa's own strength was formidable, and with the addition of several other companions, ordinary people shouldn't be their match. But Quickly, who had devoured countless high-level hollows, did make Uehara Shiroa a little concerned. After a night's rest, everyone felt refreshed and ready to continue their journey. It was rare to see people in Hueco Mundo. If someone appeared here, they must be quite capable. Uehara Shiroa immediately raised his guard. Just as everyone was preparing to continue their journey, a figure gradually approached from a distance. When the other party came closer, a smile immediately appeared on Ryuta's face, and he hurried forward to start a conversation. "It's you, Sutton, why are you here?" It wasn't difficult to see from the conversation between the two that Ryuta should be acquainted with this person and was most likely from the same organization. Uehara Shiroa carefully looked at the Sutton in front of him. He was wearing a black robe and had a long sword at his waist. Being able to walk all the way here alone, it was clear that this person must be very strong. After all, the outer areas now were completely different from before. There were not only many high-level hollows migrating, but also many high-level hollows that had completed their evolution after devouring low-level ones. Ryuta looked very excited, but Sutton's expression was very disdainful. He seemed to look down on Ryuta in front of him, and his eyes were full of contempt. Chapter 344. The Arrogant Sutton. You accepted the organization's mission and completed it quite quickly, but the Black Spirit appeared again. It seems that the Black Spirit isn't our ultimate target. I don't know how many high-level hollows like the Black Spirit the Dawn organization has in their hands. Ryuta scratched his head in embarrassment. So did you solve the problem this time? Were the cracks repaired? Sutton shook his head. One Black Spirit is easy to deal with, but the Dawn organization is still continuously releasing new Black Spirits to the border between the outer areas and the inner areas. The number of cracks is also increasing. Uehara Shiroa was shocked to hear this news. There were two things that shocked him. One was that the number of cracks had increased, which made his task even more difficult to complete. Although he got the Hogyoku, its level hadn't been improved. This was also the thing that worried him the most. Another point was that from this person's narration, he learned that Sutton had easily dealt with the Black Spirit by himself. Uehara Shiroa had figured out the range of the Black Spirit's activities at that time, and then reluctantly cooperated with his teammates to kill it. But this person was able to do it alone. It seemed that his strength was superior to his own. Sutton looked at Ryuta next to him, then asked, "I was originally planning to go back to the organization to call for help, but since I happened to run into you, why don't you come back with me? You were able to complete all the previous missions. The strength of these Black Spirits hasn't increased significantly. Just come back with me once more. The two of us should be enough." How could Ryuta agree at this time? After all, he only had 7 days. His main goal this time was to get the Soul Slayer, but he couldn't tell the other party his real purpose, so he could only say with difficulty, "Forget it. My strength is far inferior to yours. It was luck that I was able to complete the task before. Can you see the group of people behind me? I completed it together with them." Sutton was a very arrogant man. He didn't even take a second look at the group of people behind Ryuta until he mentioned them. It wasn't until he heard Ryuta mention it that Sutton turned sideways and glanced behind him. When Sutton saw Uehara Shiroa, his eyes stayed on him for a long time, as if he noticed something was wrong, but he didn't say anything. Then Sutton spoke, "I guess you don't have much ability. It seems I still have to go back and find someone to help me." Ryuta smiled awkwardly, not knowing how to respond. Later, a new member was added to the group, and Sutton was ready to return to the serious organization with them. The two men walked in the front. On the way, Sutton asked Ryuta curiously, "Didn't you get to know this group of people when you completed the mission to kill the Black Spirit? Since the Black Spirit has been killed, why are they still following you?" Ryuta thought for a long time but couldn't come up with a good reason, so he could only deal with it vaguely for the time being. "They also want to join our organization, so I want to bring them back to let the leaders evaluate them." Sutton subconsciously looked back, then said with disdain, "Just these few people? They need to form a gang to kill a Black Spirit. They must be as useless as you." Although Ryuta was dissatisfied, he didn't dare to refute him. Chapter 345, Walking out of the outer areas and coming to the surface. Ryuta was also frightened along the way. After all, he had offended many of these so-called companions during this period. If his desire to obtain the Soul Slayer was revealed by these people, he was afraid nothing good would happen to him. What Ryuta was most worried about was Uehara Shiroha, so he kept his distance from him along the way. The Sirius organization was located on the surface of Hueco Mundo, a realm where humans and hollows coexisted. After reaching the surface, the surrounding environment underwent dramatic changes. The inner and outer areas were mostly desolate, with nothing but emptiness and endless deserted buildings. When they got to the surface, they could clearly see signs of human activity, with all kinds of buildings everywhere. Uehara Shiroha and the others followed Ryuta and soon arrived at the base of the Sirius organization. Before entering the door, Chiokura whispered a reminder to Uehara Shiroha. "I heard that the leader of the Sirius organization is a man with an extremely bad temper. If you see him, try to let Ryuta communicate with him. We should avoid any contact with him, so as not to get ourselves into trouble." Uehara Shiroha nodded slowly. The information provided by Chiokura was quite credible. As soon as he entered the organization, Ryuta said to Sutton next to him, "I'll take them to find a place to stay first, you go ahead and do your thing." Sutton looked at Ryuta and asked him, "Didn't you say that these people also want to join our organization? Aren't you going to take them to see the president now?" Ryuta thought he could deflect the other party with just a few words, but he didn't expect that Sutton had been doubting him all the way. He had no choice now. In order to make the other party believe him, he could only take Uehara Shiroha and the others to meet the president first. Walking along the stone path, they soon arrived at a hall. After entering the hall, Uehara Shiroha quickly noticed the man sitting in the center. This person was sitting in the highest position, surrounded by many people. He should be the president of the Sirius organization. Ryuta walked forward, placed his right palm on his chest, knelt on one knee and said, "Lord Miyamoto, the mission has been accomplished." It seemed that the Miyamoto-sama mentioned by Ryuta was the president of the Sirius organization. Miyamoto nodded with satisfaction, then spoke, "The mission was accomplished well this time, but the matter hasn't been completely resolved. I've already heard Sutton's report." Soon Miyamoto noticed the people behind Ryuta, so he asked curiously, "Who are these people you brought with you? Can you introduce them to me?" Ryuta answered, "They are my companions whom I met during this mission. Without their help, I wouldn't have been able to kill the Black Spirit so easily. They have heard about our Sirius organization's reputation a long time ago, so they want to join." Miyamoto narrowed his eyes and looked carefully at the people in front of him, then checked everyone's attribute panels. When checking Uehara Shiroha's panel, Miyamoto's expression obviously changed. Miyamoto began to be curious about Uehara Shiroha. After all, not everyone could get an item like the Hogyoku. Although he had some doubts in his heart, he didn't voice them. Miyamoto stood up and said with a smile, "Since you are willing to join the Sirius organization, I welcome you as well." Chapter 346, Miyamoto with a Bad Temper. Miyamoto's actions made Uehara Shiroha feel a little strange. Before entering the door, Chiokura had already warned him that Miyamoto had a bad temper. But from the behavior this man was showing now, it was impossible to tell that he was a person with a bad temper. On the contrary, Uehara Shiroha felt that this person was easy to talk to and didn't make things difficult for them. Then Miyamoto smiled and said to the others, "You guys should withdraw for a while. I'll have someone arrange your accommodations." Then Miyamoto looked at Ryuta again. "You stay here for a while. You completed the mission so well this time. The organization will give you a reward." Ryuta frowned immediately after hearing this, and had a bad feeling in his heart. Uehara Shiroha didn't take this matter to heart. Since he was allowed to leave, he took his companions away without hesitation. Unexpectedly, as soon as they came out and the door was closed, they heard Ryuta's miserable cry from inside the hall. Uehara Shiroha's heart tightened and he turned around to go in, but was pulled back by Chiokura. "It's their own business, let's not get involved. The most important thing now is to protect ourselves." Uehara Shiroa looked down on Ryuta in the first place, so his life or death naturally had nothing to do with him. However, if Ryuta died at this moment, they probably wouldn't be able to survive. After all, among this group of people, only Ryuta knew where the Soul Slayer was placed. Uehara Shiroa answered, "You guys wait outside for me. I'll go in and take a look. We can't let him kill Ryuta." After saying that, Uehara Shiroa pushed the door open and rushed in. Ryuta was lying on the ground, hunched over and twitching. Uehara Shiroa stepped forward and asked Miyamoto, "Since he has already completed the mission assigned by the organization, why would you want to hurt him like this?" Miyamoto still smiled calmly. The mission was completed, but the root of the problem wasn't eradicated. He has received the attributes from the mission reward, but he didn't help the organization successfully solve the problem. Isn't it normal to punish him a little? Besides, such a simple mission actually required the cooperation of so many people to complete. Our serious organization doesn't allow such trash to exist. Only then did Uehara Shiroa finally understand that what Chiyakura had said was true. Miyamoto appeared to be amiable on the surface, but in fact, this was all an illusion. He was still an arrogant and violent person inside. Uehara Shiroa said sarcastically, "So if we work hard for the serious organization in the future, this will be the only result in the end? If you continue to act in this way, I really don't know how long your organization can survive, and whether anyone is willing to join you." After hearing what Uehara Shiroa said, Miyamoto actually walked down from his seat. Coming to Uehara Shiroa's side, Miyamoto looked him up and down carefully, then leaned close to him and asked, "Are you questioning my way of managing the organization?" Uehara Shiroa replied calmly without changing his expression. "Of course. For veterans, your method may be able to improve their efficiency in performing tasks. But for newcomers, your behavior is clearly discouraging them. I believe not many people would dare to join such an organization." Chapter 347. Saving Ryuta again. Miyamoto smiled coldly, then slowly walked back to his seat and sat down. "I will consider your suggestion. Since someone is pleading for you, then get up and do what you should do." Uehara Shiroa stepped forward, helped Ryuta up, and took him away. After they went out, everyone looked at Ryuta with pity. Although he was the most annoying among this group of people, usually very harsh with his words and difficult for everyone to understand, when they really saw this scene, their hearts sank. Uehara Shiroa helped Ryuta all the way to their residence, and Ryuta said to him, "Thank you for pleading for me. If it weren't for you, I would have died here today." Uehara Shiroa waved his hand. "I'm doing this for our own sake. If you die, how can we bring the Soul Slayer back? Besides, this guy didn't intend to kill you at all. He just wanted to teach you a lesson. Do you really think that I, a new member of the organization, can change his mind with just a few words? I'm just giving him a way out." Ryuta nodded slowly, and then Uehara Shiroa continued to ask, "There's no time to lose. We don't have much time left. We can't delay any longer. Where is the Soul Slayer?" Ryuta answered slowly, "It's located in the basement of the Great Hall, and Quickly is hiding there." Upon hearing this news, Uehara Shiroa immediately frowned. Since Miyamoto was able to become the president of the serious organization, he must be very powerful, at least stronger than any of them. Quickly was already a rather special high-level hollow. It was already difficult to deal with Quickly, and now it seemed they had to avoid Miyamoto as well. Chiyakura asked Ryuta, "But you didn't explain this to us clearly before we came. It's so troublesome. We thought that as long as we dealt with Quickly, we would naturally be able to get the Soul Slayer." Ryuta raised his head and looked at Chiyakura, then retorted, "Even if I told you, what would happen? Are you not going to do it? Don't you want to live?" Ryuta made Chiyakura speechless and she could only remain quiet. Just as they were discussing, the door was suddenly kicked open, and the person standing at the door was Sutton. Uehara Shiroa immediately became alert, his hand gripping the hilt of his Zanpakuto at his waist. Sutton looked at them with a smirk on his face. "I was wondering why you didn't come back for such a long time after completing the mission. I'm afraid you were captured by the Dawn organization during this period. It seems that your purpose for coming back this time is very clear. You probably want to get the Soul Slayer, right? Uehara Shiroha whispered to his companions beside him, we must not let this guy leave this room alive, otherwise our plans will all be ruined. After hearing this, everyone clenched their weapons, ready to attack at any time. Unexpectedly, Sutton suddenly raised his hands. Don't be nervous. I didn't say I was going to report you to the president. Uehara Shiroha asked with a frown, do you think I'll believe your lies? If we let you go now, and you expose our plan, nothing good will happen to us. Chapter 348, Sutton proposes cooperation. Sutton replied with a smile, it seems you have misunderstood. I just want to cooperate with you. Uehara Shiroha turned his head to look at Ryuta and asked him in a low voice, can you trust what this man says? If not, we'll kill him now. Ryuta shook his head and answered, I can't guarantee it either. Uehara Shiroha thought about it carefully, then asked Sutton curiously, it's not impossible to cooperate, but I'm a little curious about what you can gain from this incident. Sutton replied calmly, of course it's the Zanpakuto. This is the most advanced Zanpakuto. Even if Miyamoto is the president, he can't just give this away. If I can obtain the Soul Slayer, I'll be able to walk around Hueco Mundo with ease. Uehara Shiroha sneered, it seems that your wishful thinking is wrong. We did encounter the Dawn organization, but they asked us to bring the Soul Slayer back. Do you think we'll hand the Soul Slayer over to you? Sutton was stunned for a moment, then answered, I guess you've been threatened by someone from the Dawn organization. You want to take the Soul Slayer back in exchange for your lives, but if I can save your lives, it's okay for you to give the Soul Slayer to me, right? Uehara Shiroha thought about it carefully, then asked, but why should we believe you? Sutton suddenly grinned, because you have no choice. You don't really think that after you get the Soul Slayer, the people from the Dawn organization will be kind enough to let you go, do you? Would you choose to let your enemies go back? The others looked at each other and felt that what Sutton said made sense. At this time, Shiokura was also quietly reminding Uehara Shiroha, why don't we try to cooperate with him? Maybe this guy really has a way. Anyway, we're not afraid of him together. If he dares to do anything, we'll kill him with our own hands. Uehara Shiroha nodded slowly, then put away his Zanpakuto and said to Sutton, before we left, the Dawn organization members fed us a black pill. If we don't get the corresponding antidote within 7 days, we'll become the same as those low-level hollows. Ryuta complained on the side, to be honest, I always thought these guys were lying to me. How could there be such a pill? Sutton interrupted immediately, he really wasn't lying to you. The Dawn organization does have this kind of thing. Their organization already has a large number of hollows, and a toxin can be extracted from the bodies of these low-level hollows. The reason why these hollows turn people into the same as themselves after attacking them is precisely because of the existence of this toxin. Normally, this toxin will make people weak immediately after taking it. The reason why there is such a long interval is that they have modified it somehow. After listening to his analysis, Uehara Shiroha felt that it seemed to make sense, so he asked, you understand it so clearly, do you know what can be used to neutralize this toxin? Sutton smiled mysteriously, then beckoned to them, just follow me and you'll find out. Chapter 349, Meeting Quickly in the Cave. Uehara Shiroha looked at Sutton with suspicion, while Sutton said indifferently, if you want to cooperate, there should be some trust between each other, right? Don't you have even this little bit of trust? Shiokura said softly to Uehara Shiroha, why don't we just follow him and see? If we work together, he may not be our opponent. Uehara Shiroha nodded, and then followed Sutton with the others. Sutton led them through many twists and turns in the courtyard and finally came to the entrance of a cave. Ryuta asked curiously from the side, this place should be the entrance to the underground of the hall. How do you know this entrance? Sutton replied calmly, didn't I tell you the answer just now? I've been eyeing the Soul Slayer for more than a day or two. It's just that I haven't had any help around me. This really isn't something one person can handle. Sutton led them into the cave, and just as Ryuta had described before, there were no guards in this place. This made Uehara Shiroa feel a little uneasy. The Soul Slayer was the most precious thing of the serious organization, but they didn't send many people to watch over it. Instead, they only let Quickly guard it. This showed that the president of the serious organization was still quite confident in Quickly, which also demonstrated how powerful Quickly was. When they walked deeper into the cave, a corner appeared in front of them. Sutton turned around and whispered to everyone, "Be careful now, Quickly is right around this corner." Sutton walked toward the corner carefully and stuck his head out to observe. Quickly's body wasn't particularly big, not even as big as the previous Black Spirit, but he looked very terrifying. There wasn't much difference in general appearance between Quickly and other hollows. His whole body was black, but his face looked very different. His green face and fangs looked very frightening. There were several low-level hollows surrounding Quickly, and they were constantly attacking him. Quickly didn't seem to be in a hurry to devour these low-level hollows. Instead, he was playing with them with a mocking mentality. Uehara Shiroa asked Sutton curiously, "Why isn't Quickly afraid of the attacks of these low-level hollows? When high-level hollows devour low-level ones, they're usually afraid that the low-level hollows will hurt them." Sutton replied with a smile, "So I said I have a way to help you detoxify." Quickly has evolved to his current form after devouring countless low-level hollows. His body has long been immune to the toxins of these hollows. If we can successfully kill Quickly, we can use his blood to detoxify. Ryuta looked at Sutton with a questioning expression. "Are the things you're saying reliable? Since Quickly is also a type of hollow, wouldn't the poisoning worsen if we drank his blood?" Sutton looked at Ryuta next to him with disdain. "Do you know why you're still a loser? It's because you think too simply." Then Sutton looked at the people next to him, and it was obvious that they didn't believe what he said. Sutton shook his head helplessly. "It seems that you still don't want to believe me, but it doesn't matter. You can think about it in a different way." Chapter 350, Quickly's Immune System Toxin. After killing Quickly, if what I said was all false, I'm no match for you guys, so what do you have to worry about? Chiyokura said sarcastically, "It's easy for you to say. If we want to verify whether his blood is useful, we have to try it ourselves. By the time we drank the blood and found out it was fake, it would already be too late. You'd have already escaped with the Soul Slayer. Wouldn't we have worked for you for nothing?" Sutton pulled Ryuta next to him over and then spoke, "That's easy. Just find the weakest one among you and feed them his blood. It's better to experiment on one person than to take risks with a group of people." Ryuta quickly answered, "Why me? I'm not the weakest here. Even if we want to do an experiment, we should definitely use Chiyokura." Chiyokura lowered her head silently, and Sutton replied calmly, "As for who to choose, that's your business. I'm just telling you what to do. You can choose for yourself." Chiyokura frowned and hesitated for a long time. She also knew that she was the weakest in the team. Without the help of other companions, there would be no way she could complete the task of repairing the cracks. Although the mission hadn't been completed yet, Chiyokura had already accepted a certain reality. She said to Uehara Shiroa, "Then let me do the experiment. If something happens to me, it won't have a big impact on everyone. You guys can still deal with him." If there was no blonde in the team, Uehara Shiroa wasn't sure whether he could beat Sutton. He was in a dilemma for a moment. He also didn't want to watch Chiyokura do such a thing, but what she had just said did make sense. Judging from these people's personalities and past experiences, it would be most appropriate to let Ryuta conduct this experiment. No matter how bad Ryuta's character was, his own strength wasn't weak. Seeing that Uehara Shiroa hadn't said anything for a long time, Ryuta spoke up, "Since no one has any objections, then it's settled. After killing Quickly, let Chiyokura drink his blood." Uehara Shiroa continued to ask Sutton, "Now that we've figured out the route and everything, when are we going to act?" Sutton touched his chin and then answered, "Try not to delay it too long. The organization brings different amounts of hollows from storage every day to continue feeding Quickly. The longer it takes, the stronger Quickly will become, and the harder it will be to deal with him." Ryota picked up the knife in his hand and walked forward, saying, "Then why are you hesitating? Why don't we just go in and kill this guy now?" Sutton shook his head with disdain, then spoke, "It seems like you really have no brains. You want to kill quickly? Do you think you can get out of here safely afterward?" Miyamoto is very alert. Even though he only placed one quickly here, he's always keeping an eye on the situation here. Uehara Shiroa asked, "You're more familiar with the situation in the organization, so when do you think it's best to take action? Give us a suggestion and we'll listen to you." That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated in Bleach World. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Quick reminder. The series What If Transmigrated as a Kanto gym leader will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics. What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Transmigrated to Medieval Pokemon World? What if creating the strongest Strawhat crew by reading manga? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.